Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm writing to Are You Smart or Just Shallow? Young man Acharya. So, are we just smart or are we just shallow? I don't know. It could be both. Rarely. Is it rarely both? No, it's not rarely both. Smart can be shallow. But not all the time, of course. It's not something exclusive for sure. But anyways, let's go give this video a shot.
Said that even if we are well-meaning citizens who want to fight against, let's say, issues like corruption, and somebody does start an authentic movement, still over time there is a possibility that it can lose its meaning and get mainstreamed into the same flow of corruption and vindictiveness and lust for power and other things. Yes, that can happen.
Oh yeah, that has happened a lot in a lot of the movements in America. I mean, essentially almost every movement in America has. It's just because people are going to co opt it and have their own interpretation of the meaning of whatever it is they're trying to do.
So that's the reason why there must not only be one movement, but series of several movements. We require not just one seed to sprout and flower, we require an entire nursery. You see, you cannot place very tight constraints on the forces of goodness. We allow the forces of evil to do whatever they please, and they get away precisely because they are forces of evil. You know.
I don't know if we let them. I say they do that because they can. They are evil because they do bad things or illegal things, not because we let them. I wouldn't say it that way. I do get what he's trying to. I assume I get what he's trying to say here. it's kind of like what in America where people are trying to pass the ban guns. It's like, and you ask them, it's like, why? It's like, oh, because there's so many shootings going around. It's like, okay, you ban guns, there's still going to be shooting going around because bad guys are going to get those guns anyway. So that's the idea. Is the fact that bad guys will break. Well, they're going to break the law. They're going to do whatever they want or whatever they need to do to win, whether it's illegal or legal, where good guys are constrained to only doing the good things. Because once they break the law, they're now officially the bad guy. So when you disarm the population, they can't use guns to defend themselves against other people or against the government or whatever it may be. But it's just that's a pretty straightforward idea. Is that good guys are going to be constrained by the law. Bad guys, they'll do whatever it takes, illegal or legal, to do it.
They are supposed to be evil, so they are supposed to make mistakes. If they are corrupted, that's in their DNA, you know. Hmm? So we kind of forgive them, or we accept that as a rule of nature. Let's say there are several corrupt political parties, and you know very well of their corrupt deeds and transactions, and it is almost every day that news regarding their their venal dealings keep surfacing. And even as those news articles surface, it does not bother us too much because they are supposed to be corrupt. You know, that's a mainstream political party. Obviously, it's going to be corrupt.
Okay, I kind of get what he's trying to say here. I mean, that's again very similar to the United States, where we believe just if you're a politician, you're just automatically corrupt. I kind of do feel sorry for certain politicians because I have a feeling there are some who genuinely want to do good, and we go into the politics, they realize, oh crap, what did I get myself into? Because they have to probably, maybe this is what he's talking about. I didn't understand why we forgive them. I guess I'm thinking more of the harsh illegal stuff like, murders and stuff, as opposed to just being a corrupt politician, which we can potentially forgive, probably, maybe. But and this is the reason why I say that is because the maybe forgive is because when they get into there, maybe this corruption kind of has to exist for the political system for the whatever it is to exist, as in a good way. Like in order for society to continue, corruption has to exist in the political system or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking that because I don't know the truth of the matter, and to say that why are quote unquote all politicians corrupt? Maybe it has to exist. If all politicians are corrupt, therefore corruption has to exist in order for society to exist, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I'm hoping not. I'm hoping maybe there is like a low level corruption, as in like, oh no, he's you know not typing the right number in the books correctly. Like he's 50 cents off or something like that. Some low amount of number off corruption that's extremely forgivable just to make the society work. Not something major, of course.
But when it comes to a person or an institution that that started off as something better, something higher or cleaner, then we raise our expectations just too high.
Mm.
Now, that might be self defeating because ultimately, even an urge to clean up is arising from the same filthy society, right? So, even the cleanup process is bound to contain some impurities. They ought to be understood and probably even accommodated. Also, one need not give up hope too soon. Filth has accumulated over a large period of time. Cleaning up won't happen in an instant. That too is going to be a long process. It was not in 1757 or 1857 that India lost her independence, right? It was due to a long period of neglect of basics that we got colonized. That period extended for several centuries, right? A lot of things were happening in the religious domain, cultural domain, scientific domain, educational domain that ultimately led to the fall of this huge subcontinent to much smaller nations from Europe. But once the fall happened, it was unrealistic to expect that now freedom can dawn in the blink of an eye. So then you required something like 200 years of incessant political and revolutionary activity to bring just political freedom to India. And other kinds of freedoms have still not come to us in the way they must. Hmm? Why? Because the process of slavery itself extended over several centuries. So freedom too will take time. We are right now in the middle of the process of freedom, and in this process, the political freedom has come to us, and other freedoms are still pending. Similarly, the corruption thing that you're talking of, when you're talking of cleaning up, you have to ask yourself, how exactly do you find yourself drenched in so much of filth? Hmm? And think of if a little more loving towards ourselves.
We're gonna rewind that. I don't know what happened there. But also, um, I thought he was gonna say, in order to clean up, we must have a process. It's kind of like a lot of people who rebel, who say, you know, get rid of corruption, or we need to do this. And let's do that. So what's the solution? I don't know. That's not my job. I'm just here to complain. I'm like, oh, what? What kind? Oh, you just come here to complain about ruining something that's making society function, and then you're saying get rid of it, and you have no alternative to it, or the alternative is just so unrealistic that it's not plausible. It's so strange. I mean, I know there's a lot of people with, again, while I believe intent matters, but it has to be reasonable as well, because I think, like for example, clean energy, right? It's not very sustainable because it requires, apparently it requires so much land to produce so little energy, and these people are willing to sacrifice the poor, because usually anytime there's a policy change, generally speaking, the poorest affected the most, because whether increased taxes, increased food prices, whether we switch over to electric vehicles. Guess what? Poor can afford higher food prices, gas prices, or even buy a brand new vehicle then the very next day. It's really stupid how some people think that people can just afford to increase their spending, or even just buy a brand new vehicle for the sake of clean, quote unquote, clean energy. I think if these people that complain about stuff spend more time doing scientific research and pushing towards genuine clean energy, like a way to reduce the required land size for, say, solar panels or wind turbines or some other form of clean energy, dude, we'd probably be so far ahead. Only if they knew how to direct their arguments into actual, meaningful research instead of just complaining. The way I look at it, it's like if you look at a family, they're the children complaining about stuff, and the parents are trying to figure out a way to solve it. And all they are is just children, just complaining because they don't know how to solve anything. They just complain. That's all children does. That's what they do. They can't solve anything because their number one aspiration and aspect is, I was going to say the B word, but complaining. Let's put it that way.
I think we ought to be a little more loving towards ourselves. We need the right kind of selfishness. You said
Okay, something skipped for some odd reason. Super far ahead. Oh, definitely. Holy crap! I don't remember seeing that person, unless I blanked out or something. Wow, what happened there?
if you are hungry for change, as you so freedom too will take time.
Okay.
We are right now in the middle of the process of freedom, and in this process, the political freedom has come to us, and other freedoms are still pending. Similarly, the corruption thing that you're talking of, when you're talking of cleaning up, you have to ask yourself, how exactly do you find yourself drenched in so much of filth?
Right there, you find yourself exactly. Oh man, that didn't really translate very right. It's like exactly what do you need to do, and it's like, oh, you found yourself. I'm like, whoops. I thought he was gonna say what you need to do. What's the solution, the alternative? Say this is a problem. Great, fantastic. What's the alternative to it? What is the alternative solution to this problem that we have?
Hmm? And think of the centuries that have brought us to this kind of weary state. Hmm? So, if one political party fails in transforming the political landscape, then another one must come up. And you have to look at the whole thing in perspective. It's not a matter of months or 2 years, 4 years. It will take time. And if you are hungry for change, as you must be, if you want to reduce the time that the process will take, then you must, with all zeal and energy, put in your own bit. Hmm? Only then the process can be accelerated. But let there be no false hopes. Bad politics is essentially arising from a bad collective mind. The politician is corrupt because the population is corrupt,
Mm.
right? And all corruption is fundamentally spiritual. It is a lack of proper spiritual foundation to common life that is causing corruption in all spheres of human activity. Hmm? So, when a reformation indeed does come, it will be a reformation not only in our politics, but also in our education, also in
Culture.
our movies, our literature,
Mm.
our politics, our everything, our relationships. It will be a fundamental change in who we are as a people. And if this kind of a cataclysmic change is to be brought about, let's be patient. Let's be patient with a desperate vigor. Hmm? When it comes to action, we must act vigorously. When it comes to results, we must want them desperately. But equally, we must know that what we are asking for is something very big, and therefore it's definitely going to take time.
Thank you, Acharya. That's all from my side.
Thank you. Thank
So, hello Ajayji, I'm Amal Surendra. So, my question is that I think more and more people nowadays are realizing the current predicament that they're in, as you were describing. And I think they realize that they need more in life than what their current life offers. But there are also many false sources, out there that claim to offer enlightenment to people. So, how does a common person or like a common, possibly gullible mind seeking a change in life differentiate from the good channels, differentiate the good channels from the bad?
Channels in which domain? Do you have something particular in mind?
I don't have a particular. It can be, I think, anything. It can be in terms of be it medicine or literature or just anything general about their lives. So everyone has different things they want to improve about themselves, and they seek different channels. And I think nowadays the options are plenty. So how does one go about recognizing what is right for them?
I think we ought to be a little more loving towards ourselves. No, we need the right kind of selfishness. You said medicine. Somebody is offering you medicine, obviously you must be in the best position to judge whether the medicine is working, whether it's worth anything. No? How is it possible that somebody gets away selling you trash in the name of treatment? Hmm? The results are on you, the impact is upon you. So you know what is happening, you know what you experienced, what you became, what and how much you had to pay up in the entire process. You know what you gave and what you got. So how is it possible that people are being conned so easily? Hmm? Somebody tells you, I've made a great movie, come and watch it. You go there, you are the recipient of the visuals and the sounds and the entire experience. Who but you can for sure declare what the movie is worth for? How is it possible that you emerge from a third rate movie and you do not know how you felt about it? But we do see all kinds of stupid movies succeeding at the box office. 300 crores, 600 crores, 1000 crores. Hmm? We see all kinds of rubbish succeeding in the name of literature. Hmm? National bestseller, international bestseller, lakh copies sold, 2 lakh copies sold, 10 lakh copies sold, and that fellow is peddling nonsense of the worst kind. Hmm? Trash in the name of philosophy, superstition in the name of spirituality.
I think the reason why there are people out there who can not know if it's something good or not is because sometimes the people that are trying to scam them are getting right behind that. Like imagine you just that person came out the movie theater. It's like I don't know how I feel about that one. Then the scammer comes out. It's like, oh, it's amazing. You remember this visual effects? Points out certain aspects that are decently cool, passable, and hypes them up. And all of a sudden, that person will be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, you're all right. It was pretty good." Because the, I was gonna say, if you're gullible, there's just almost no hope. But I mean, it's kind of like there's an interesting study that happened. Well, study. I say study. It's not a study, but it's a YouTube video that I remember seeing. They did an experiment in a lobby where there's a bell that would ring, and there's like 8 actors, and there's like 10 chairs. And when a bell rings, the 8 actors would stand up and sit back down. And then there's actual people that came in there, and they're looking for an appointment, I guess, or maybe it's a cast or something like that. They go sit down. All of a sudden, the bell rings. All the 8 actors, actual paid actors, stood up and sat back down. And the person that's not a paid actor looked around like, "What's going on?" After a while, the person that's not a paid actor would stand up when the bell would ring with the group and sit back down. And then they brought in another non-paid actor, and then some of the paid actors went to the back, so it would open up some room in there. And again, after just a few more times, those 3 non-paid actors would do it now, and the 7 paid actors would do it. Then they shipped out a few more paid actors to the back, and some non-paid actors went, and then all of a sudden they all started doing it. All of a sudden, all the paid actors are in the back, so there's no more paid actors, and there's like 8 or 10 non-paid actors, and they were all doing it on the sound of the bell. It's like a herd mentality. So that's what he's kind of talking about here, where how, like, well, and what I'm thinking about, like, how would you not know? It's like, well, It's not like you watch a movie by yourself and you have time to contemplate it in terms of these bad actors. Sometimes they follow up right behind them and start hyping it up, and then you start believing in it because you lack self-awareness or knowledge or something. There's something lacking. I'm not exactly sure what it is for people. Confidence, perhaps it could be confidence in their own thoughts, and maybe that's the reason why they just follow what other people do. It makes me want, I'm kind of curious as to whatever I would follow them or not. Like if everyone's standing up on the bell or not. I think to myself I wouldn't. It's like no one told me I had to, so why would I? It's like they're doing it just because maybe they find it fun. I don't know. So, anyways,
And still the fellow is succeeding. Do we care for ourselves? When I'm reading something, am I asking myself, what is the impact this is having on me? Am I any better off by consuming this literature or this person or this medicine or whatever it is? There is so much that the world serves up for our consumption, and extracts a price from us. No, nobody gives us anything for free. When you take that in, are you asking yourself, what did I get out of it? Or are we so unthinking and so insensitive towards ourselves that we just don't bother? Let's say you have been called to a party. You went to the party. You spent a fair amount dressing up and doing all the stuff that is needed. And for 6 hours you were there consuming the loud, blaring music and the booze and the
advertisers.
inebriating visuals, the
Oh,
entire atmosphere was designed to pull you down in terms of your consciousness. Is it not important that when you return, you ask yourself, what was the whole thing about? What did I get out of it? Do we take stock? Do we pause to reflect? Or next morning, when you get up with a heavy hangover, you just carry on as if nothing has happened, as if those 6 or 8 hours never existed in your life in the first place. You invested 6 hours there, you invested your money there. Must you now not ask yourself, what did I get out of that? And if you do not ask that question, then you will repeat that experience, because that experience is mainstream. That experience is being sold very aggressively by the culture and the market.
well, I'd say this too. On top of that, it's not necessarily that the fact that you forget about it, but the sheer fact that everyone else is having fun. If I'm not having fun, there must be something wrong with me. So therefore, I must have fun in order for me to be like everyone else. Again, this herd mentality, where you just agree so that you're not different from everyone else. And then eventually the lie becomes so much that you believe it to be true. You believe in the lie.
Are you getting it? You are enrolled in a course. You are enrolled in a relationship. You set out for a pilgrimage. You say, I'm hanging out somewhere with my buddies. Must there not be a certain self-awareness? What am I doing to myself? What is this experience giving to me? And I'm, yes, talking of a certain selfishness and calculativeness. You have one life and you have a limited number of moments. Must you not calculate where those limited number of moments are disappearing into? And time can just fly away. You will think you are doing something worthwhile, and meanwhile the clock is ticking. The clock has no special consideration for you. Take an example. I hope we are together till this point. Take an example. Let's say there is an elevator, right? And you have to go from the first floor till the 8th. And instead you take the stairs, right? And and your friend takes the lift. All the time when you are climbing up the stairs, how do you feel? Do you feel unemployed, free, doing
Oh,
nothing,
okay.
purposeless? No. When you are going up the stairs, you feel very purposeful. You feel as if you are doing something important, right? Not only are you doing something important, you are also investing a lot of energy in it. You can even start to pat yourself on the back for taking up a daunting challenge. I have to climb my way up to the 8th floor. And you will feel very engaged. You will feel as if something important is happening in life. And indeed, something that saps your energy and takes away your entire attention is definitely happening. It's not easy to quickly go up till the 8th floor. And when you do reach there, what do you find?
You're
You find
exhausted.
that your friend is already there and has been waiting since a few minutes now. Right? That's the worth of all your effort. Somebody who didn't take the wrong route reached there way before you and with far less effort. But we keep just struggling through life thinking that the staircase is the only way to rise. Why? Because the staircase is probably the thing that everybody is taking. There are lots of people there. It's a hypothetical example. I know very well that if there is an elevator and a staircase, nobody would take the staircase. But just consider the example for what it points towards.
But I mean, I thought he was going to say, there's many ways you can look at that example. It's the fact that, well, your friend did take the easy route, and you took the longer and harder route, but you have exercise with that. You climbing up those stairs ain't easy. You're going up 8 flights of stairs, so therefore you're going to develop endurance and muscle in your legs. Endurance because you're having to lift yourself up all the time. So now, if you and your friend, if the elevator, is kaput, you will have an easy time climbing up those 8 flights of stairs, while your friend might have take a breather in the fourth floor, saying, "Give me a second. I've been taking the elevator all this time." I mean, again, different kinds of ways of looking at things. But again, his perspective is very much true too, where there's two routes to get to a destination, and you take the. It's not necessarily to say the easiest, but the wisest route, meaning that you end up getting to the results the same. Both are legal, both are fair. One is just quicker and more efficient, and the other one is not so much.
But won't we, as people, won't we also look for something that makes our journey meaningful? Like, in terms of like, if we want to get somewhere, we want to do it in a way that we believe that the means also justify the ends, and we want to have.
What is the end? First thing, I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
Very valid thing. But what is the end? Where do you want to reach? The means come later. First of all, one must know the ends, the purpose,
Oh.
the destination. What is it that we want? Do we know that?
I think on a general scale, like everyone's looking for happiness and fulfillment.
Yeah, but then nobody is just 1 second old right now. We are 20, 25, 40, 45. We have already tried so many means for happiness. And had we succeeded, we wouldn't still be trying. The means that we have now taken up, are they really any different from the means that we have already tried out? Dimensionally, fundamentally, the means are just the same as the ones already experimented with. We are just recycling the means in other names, in other forms, in other faces. If those means didn't succeed then, how will they succeed today? Wishful thinking does not take anyone anywhere. I ask, will you reach a new destination traveling down the same road again and again in more expensive vehicles maybe? With new chauffeurs, with new companions, in new clothes? On other days, the previous journey was made in the noon, and this time you travel in the midnight, hoping that you will reach somewhere else. But the road is the same.
It's a loop.
You will not reach anywhere else. Another disappointment lies in store. Do we know what we want? Happiness is a very vague word. What does that mean? We do not get happiness because we have never really reflected on happiness. If you reflect on happiness, you realize its nature. And that realization enables you to then get what we all are really hungry for. You're perfectly right. We all want happiness. But what kind of happiness? Happiness has many grades, many levels. It is only the highest level that would fulfill us. But the lower levels are easier to get. You don't have to pay up a heavy price.
Right there. Kind of like, again, about the stairs one, it's easier to use the elevator. It's much harder to use the stairs. Everyone's using the easy method. And that, as opposed to, say, the harder one, which will give you eternal happiness. Again, just a different way of perspective, or a different perspective of looking at things in terms of what is worth doing in your life. The easy way is, buying, new stuff to keep you temporarily happy for a little bit. And then the harder method is, Advaita, as he would say. I believe he would say. Um, but he talked about how, what's the end result of the elevator versus the stairs. Well, the elevator, you have your friend waiting at the top. It's a much efficient and easier method than, say, climbing the stairs. But I gave the alternative to that, which well, sorry, not the alternative, but the perspective of that from the person that's climbing the stairs. I say he's getting exercise. It's a harder harder path for sure, but you are also reaping a benefit from that. And then, kind of like what he's talking about now, about, again, to get the easy happiness. Well, yeah, that's the escalator in my perspective, and then the hard happiness is the elevator, because you're developing endurance muscles. Again, all a matter of perspective and how you look at certain things.
Secondly, we do not know that the lower levels are actually lower, because all the lower levels of happiness sell themselves in the market masquerading as the highest. Anybody who wants to sell something to you, does he not overstate the product or the service? That's how all the sellers of happiness survive in the market. One needs to be much more careful about his or her life. It's my one life. Shouldn't I be very cautious what my energy is going into?
Again, it goes back to the very beginning, as I was saying about how, the gullible people, yeah, they come out of the movie, wondering, but The person's trying to sell it will hype it up, saying, yes, this is really cool, points out certain things that are really cool, but the overall experience was bad. But because of those little things that you pay attention to, as opposed to the whole picture, you end up falling for the hype as well.
What my time is going into? Or can I just let life drift? If you just let life drift, then there is hardly any difference between man and animal. Animals have no purpose in life. The only happiness that an animal is looking for is grass, food, shelter, basic security, sex, procreation. If the happiness that we demand for life is much the same as what an animal demands, then we will remain unfulfilled. The animal has no need for fulfillment. We will have no scope for fulfillment. We will suffer. The animal does not.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. I think the point about reflection really struck out to me, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you smart or just a shallow man, young man? I must have missed that part. Again, they're not exclusive. You could be both smart and shallow. You could just be shallow. You could just be smart. Although probably a little bit of smartness comes with a little bit of shallowness as well. Not sure. I guess there's not too much else to say. I think I said everything I needed to say about this video. Again, it is a matter of perspective that you'll look at it. And the most important thing is, from what he said, is what do you get out of it? That, again, where you look at the elevator, where you can say, well, what I got out of it is I saved some time climbing stairs. Now I can go do something else more productive. It's like I'm not wasting time, climbing upstairs and climbing downstairs. I could just get to my destination and start working on my project. I can start working on enlightenment. Or you could, the other perspective as, I'm climbing upstairs because it is exercise. It'll help me stay healthy. A little bit of extra time just exercising where you can will bring you clarity. Both are very true, but it's a matter of whether that's true for you or not. Maybe you do need to take the elevator or escalator or elevator because you need to do something. I would. Well, depends actually. I do a little bit of both. If it's like 2 floors, take the elevator. If it's 1 floor, I'll take the stairs. I consider it exercise. But anyways, it's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of what you're trying to get out of life. If you have things to do that you hope that will bring you happiness, kind of like, whatever it may be, then obviously you want to get there quickly. You want to waste less time trying to get to the destination and actually start doing what you need to do. Whereas if your enlightenment or your seeking of happiness requires you to do certain things that may take a little bit of a longer time out of your day, then maybe that's a sacrifice you're willing to make. Kind of like, again, I could ride, the elevator sometimes is not really quick, so I take the stairs whenever I can, especially if you know the path. It's more efficient and quicker and a lot of times. But whenever it goes up 2 floors, though, sometimes most of the time the elevator is a little bit quicker. So again, it's all a matter of perspective, choosing wisely in what path you take through your life, because not all the paths are the same and not all the paths are required to take. So like I said, about whenever I do my job, I'm on a certain floor and I have to get to multiple floors to do my job, and I find out what's the most efficient and quickest. Sometimes taking the stairs is quicker, sometimes taking the elevator is quicker. Sometimes I take the stairs just because. Anyways, that's my reaction to it. Are you smart or just a shallow young man? Acharya Prashant. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.